The return of South Sudan's opposition leader to the capital Juba has been postponed indefinitely. Former rebel leader Riek Machar was initially meant to travel to Juba on Monday. That was later moved to Tuesday. Now, his advance team says Machar failed to arrive in Juba because his chief of staff couldn't be cleared to land in South Sudan's capital. The government, on the other hand, says Machar wanted to come in with an arsenal of arms, including anti-tank guns, laser-guided missiles and heavy machine guns.
The government of the Republic of South Sudan will not accept any additional arms or surplus forces to be brought to Juba. If the SPLM-AIO has any surplus forces or has any surplus arms, they are not supposed to be brought to Juba, but to be taken to their cantonment areas or kept in their headquarters in Pagak. This is the system.
Meanwhile, officials at the African Union say Riek Machar's return to Juba should take place without further delay. It's crucial for the country's peace process. The AU is concerned over the latest worrying developments. CCTV's Grimchala has more.
We have spent 2 days filled with drama, anxiety and a lot of waiting in Gambela, the western Ethiopia town from where the Vice President designate of South Sudan, Riek Machar, was expected to reach in Juba for his inauguration into office and form the transitional government of national unity. But things fell apart. And so far, Mr. Machar is at his Pagak barrack. Back here in Addis Ababa, the African Union is definitely unhappy with the happenings. So is the regional body, IGAD. All have waited for Monday to mark the end of the South Sudanese war. Some officials at the African Union said Riek Machar should still head to Juba with no more delay. They said the opposition is encouraged to immediately take its position in the upcoming provisional government for the peace deal to finally be implemented. So pressure is coming from everywhere for Riek Machar to go to Juba no later than Wednesday. But still, before him, the Chief of Staff of the Army, General Simon Gowrich, should leave Gambela with his 200-plus troops as a precondition for Mr. Machar to arrive in Juba next. Things are tense and complicated, but there is surely hope. Grumtala CCTV, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Meanwhile, the UN Security Council and the U.S. administration have criticized Riek Machar, who leads an armed opposition faction, for failing to travel to Juba. In a press briefing on Tuesday, U.S. State Department spokesperson John Kirby said, quote, "The United States is deeply disappointed by Riek Machar's failure to return to South Sudan's capital of Juba today to form the transitional government of national unity. His failure to go to Juba, despite efforts from the international community, places the people of South Sudan at risk of further conflict and suffering and undermines the peace agreement's reform pillars," end quote. Now, CCTV's Patrick Oyed joins us on the line from Juba for the latest. Patrick, is there clarity about what is going to happen next after the conflicting accounts from the government and Machar's side?
There is no clarity on what happens next. No one knows when opposition leader Riek Machar, who is also South Sudan's first vice president designate, will return to Juba to take off and become the first vice president, and also to facilitate the formation of the transitional government of national unity. However, Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, which is an institution tasked with monitoring the peace deal implementation, has called for an extraordinary meeting with all stakeholders to take place tomorrow. The meeting, we hope, will be the one that will come up with a way forward.
Patrick, how has the failure of Machar to arrive been received by residents of Juba?
Yes, the residents of Juba and indeed the whole of South Sudan are disappointed that Riek Machar did not return to the capital. The past 2 days, many residents of Juba didn't even go for work. The 2 days were basically like undeclared public holidays. People were at home waiting to see if Riek Machar would come. Many of the UN staff also, it was declared for them like public holiday. They were at home. Business was running almost as everybody was waiting for the return of Riek, with hope that peace indeed would come to South Sudan. The nightmare that they have gone through in the past 3 years of basic commodities prices rising very high would come to an end. that all this did not happen and hope is once again lost. The people of South Sudan continue to wait again for the return of Riek Machar.
All right, Patrick, you're joining us on the line from Juba. Thank you, Patrick. Well, there's been plenty of reaction on this delay on social media. CCTV's Maria Galang takes us through some of the online feedback.
Mixed reactions on social media. This one says Machar shouldn't be rushed. Many agree he needs to be fully prepared. Then there are those who are eager for his return. Some have taken to social media in outrage, though, accusing Machar of intransigence and of not taking the matter seriously. Maria Galang, CCTV.